I find it so interesting that the people who have the most to say are usually the ones who hesitate the longest to say it. And usually, when it comes to podcasting, the narratives that I often hear from people who want to start but just never do is there are too many podcasts out there. I am not famous enough to do this. And I'll do it when the world's less chaotic or when people seem to be more interested in what I want to talk about. And here's the thing, those are all variations of the same thing. The underlying cause of this is actually just fear. It's the fear of putting yourself out there and of getting started. And these are all reasons for why you feel it's okay to not do it yet. So this video is for you if you found yourself in a loop of overthinking, doubting, and just disappearing on your own ideas. And if you're new here, welcome. My name's Hiwote. I'm a podcast producer and the creator of the Emerging Voices Podcasting Accelerator, where I help bold beginners create shows that are unique to them and that are super magnetic to their audience. If that sounds interesting to you, you will want to download my 10-step guide to launching your podcast, where you can learn the exact framework that I use in the Emerging Voices Accelerator to teach my students how to create the shows that they love and that their audiences love. And if you're wondering why you should trust me, here are some of the shows that I've worked on. My personal favorite, This Is Dating, which was listed as one of Time Magazine's best podcasts of 2022. And if you're a fan of Esther Perel's Where Should We Begin, that is one of the shows that I've worked on. So let's get into the 3 core fears that come up most often with the aspiring podcasters that I talk to and exactly how to get over it, okay? And I promise you, you can get over it. So fear number 1 is that there are so many podcasts out there. And listen, I really get it. I think the first fear is that, okay, there's so many podcasts out there, I'm going to get lost in all of those shows. But I think the secondary fear underneath that is, what are people going to say if I create a podcast and add to this already huge sea of shows that already exist? And this is something that one of my students, Simone, who is now the host of the Meaningful Shift podcast, really struggled with. When Simone and I first met, she told me about her podcast idea, which was her documenting her journey to building a resort space in Jamaica because she had bought a piece of land in Jamaica the year before. And when I heard that idea, I was like, this is brilliant, and I know exactly what kind of listener would engage with this. But her first thought was like, oh, would anyone listen among the sea of podcasts out there? But also, what are other people going to think when I say I want to start a podcast?
One of the things that I was worried about when I first even said out loud, I want to start a podcast, it's like, people are going to roll their eyes. Everybody and their mother has a podcast.
And then Simone did something really smart. She decided to think of podcasts more like books than TV.
There are limitless novels and fiction, nonfiction. There are so many stories to tell, and we don't ever say there are too many books in the world. And so thinking more about my message and who I want it to touch, I felt more empowered to pursue that when I thought about it more of like adding to the literature than just having a YouTube channel with conversations.
And if you're a subscriber to this channel, you've heard me say this before, this fear that there are too many podcasts out in the world is actually one that I really want to debunk for you. There is anywhere, as of today, it is June 2025, as of today, there's anywhere from 3.5 to 4.5 million podcasts out in the world, but only 15% of those are considered active podcasts by Apple. Okay, so when people say, I have a podcast, I have a podcast, I have a podcast, what most people really have is somewhere between 3 and 12 episodes of a show that they started making and then abandoned. Okay, so not everyone actually has a podcast. And if you're trying to make a show that is super high quality, that is unique to you, and that lasts for a lifetime, you are not playing the same game, okay? And I'm not saying this in a shady way. I have been an independent podcaster when I first started, and I created a show and then abandoned it halfway through. That is only normal because starting podcasts is much easier than most people think, but then actually maintaining it and growing it is what takes time. So if you have the fear that there are too many podcasts out there, I really want to encourage you first to think of it more like books than like TV or like YouTube channels, okay? And then I want you to remember the actual facts. There actually aren't that many podcasts out there. The second reason you might be afraid to start your podcast is because you're wondering, why would anyone listen to little old me? Okay. Now, again, Simone had the exact same experience. And actually, she said something really interesting to me. She said, I think the internet lies to you and makes you feel like unless you are on the New York Times lists and you have Michelle Obama on your show, then you don't actually have a voice and a show worth making. And that is so far from the truth. And I'll actually let Simone tell you why that's the case.
People really do appreciate the honest truth from whoever. It's not about being recommended by the New York Times. It's not about having Michelle Obama on your show. It's really just like, oh, we see this person and I want to follow this. I'm cheering for you. I'm rooting for you. Like, people are really excited. And that is something that I think is breaking through. And so that's been kind of unexpected for me, because I'm like, I'm just a little black girl from Detroit. I keep saying, like, I'm a regular person. But I think that that's something that is refreshing for folks. So
the truth is, although there are all of these celebrity podcasts, you are far more relatable to the average person than any celebrity ever could be. And it is in our human nature to want to connect through stories. This is what we have done for centuries. So you telling your story is really about you putting language to a belief system or to a thought process that other people already have or are curious about, and allowing them to be attracted to you and your messaging because they see some part of themselves in you. So I really want to encourage you to remember that the reason people would listen to you is because they see some part of themselves in you. It has nothing to do with being on a big list by a media company or having a celebrity on your podcast. And I'm not negating that getting a celebrity on your podcast does have some value or increases your reach. That is true. But that's actually something that comes way later, after you have proven that you stand for something and you believe in something strongly enough that you've facilitated a community around this idea. And this is part of what's so cool about podcasts to me. It's about ideas and about people who have a clear point of view on something and are willing to go really deep in exploring it. So why would you be worthy of having your voice heard? Because you have lived experience that is worth sharing with other people. And this allows other people to connect with you in a deep and meaningful way. And on a bigger scale, it allows us to feel a lot more connected in a world that feels so fragmented and so disconnected. And the third fear is that there is so much chaos and uncertainty in the world. It feels like maybe now is not quite the right time for me to be exploring this particular thing in a podcast. I really feel this one. It can be incredibly difficult to find inspiration, to keep being creative and keep sharing your voice with the world when it feels like we're living in the most chaotic of times, okay? And we don't want to negate that we are living in very chaotic times. We don't want to pretend that that's not happening. But I think it's really important to remember that your creativity is actually a balm for you and for other people.
it actually feels useful for me to be focused on my creative work, because it is the role that I can play in all of this chaos. There's really nothing else that I can do but to try and help people feel empowered and to bring them in. And when I am most clear, I can, add the most value in a time where we have so much uncertainty.
And this is why I talk about the concept of creative resilience so often. The same creative muscles that you need to bring your podcast to life are going to be the same muscles, the same creative skills that are going to allow you to create the future and the world that you would like to see. So actually, your creativity and you investing in your creativity is a superpower. It is not a distraction. The single most important thing I can tell you about overcoming the fear of starting a podcast is that you actually allow your fear to be there, but it doesn't sit in the driver's seat. You put it in the passenger seat. And I'm saying this because the more you create, the bigger your vision, the more people start listening, that fear is not going to go anywhere. It's just going to change shape. So the sooner you get better at allowing yourself to be comfortable with being afraid and still moving forward, the more unstoppable you're going to be. And one of the most powerful ways that you can do this is to do this in community. You can do this by finding an accountability partner who's going to help you stay accountable along the way and actually bring your podcast to life. Alternatively, you can do this in a community like Emerging Voices, where you have a mentor in me and then other podcasters who are creating their own shows alongside you. And this was the case for Simone.
I think one of the big things is doing this within Emerging Voices, shout out to you, but not doing it alone is very helpful because you realize, one, you're not the only person that has the feelings that you have, and you have these safe spaces where you can kind of start to put yourself out there. So I'm going to put myself out there, but with people who are in the same place as me, who are also scared. And then you tell us, okay, you need to actually go and do some user research. And so you start to put stuff out there, but with people who you think it's going to resonate with. And so it's kind of a safe space. And I think the reason it was so scary to launch is because it's like, okay, now you're really going to put it out there. But there have been all these small steps of getting feedback from people and trying to clarify my ideas and really like reflecting.
Your creative practice should be something that nourishes you in the same way that you hope it nourishes other people.
And then the other thing that has been helpful is realizing that part of a podcast is not just thinking about my listener, but also thinking about me. And this is a project that is really supposed to be something that feels special and resonates with me. And so it's okay if it's not perfect to everyone else because I have a say. And if I like it, like there's something to that.
There's value there.
And so I think that's been helpful for me as a recovering perfectionist and finding my voice and then saying like, I really am proud of this and I love it. And so it's okay if it's not perfect.
Now, I want to hear from you. What are the fears that keep coming up for you every time you set out to create your podcast? Why is it really that you haven't created your show yet? Leave a comment below and tell me. I'd love to hear and see if I can support you. And if you're like, hey, I'm curious about this Emerging Voices Accelerator, you can book a free discovery call by using the link in the show description. I will see you in the next video.